Good morning and welcome back to Plannercraft. I'm Natalie and today is going to be a bit of a finishing up stream, so I'm going to be finishing the card from Monday when we did our drawing frames, and I'm also going to be doing a bit of colouring to finish off our mermaid card. So as usual, don't be afraid to ask questions, chat amongst yourselves, whichever. So,
Tracy's in. Tracy's in.
hi Tracy, hi Joyce. And I hope it's coming through better than what it's coming through on ours, because it looks fuzzy as anything. So I'm going to start off with my art card first. And I wanted to just discuss a little bit about putting this together in terms of order. So the really obvious one to start with is, if you want to make your life easier when it comes to centering a frame, fold your card first. So if you're going to be doing any sort of stamping on it, keep it flat, but once you've done all your stamping on that initial layer, just fold it up and give it a good crease with a bone folder.
Carol says morning, or yawning, and Darcy says morning too. Jess says it looks good, so. And
Cool.
Carol says she hopes that Facebook slept better than yesterday. Yeah, and me.
I hope it's that better than I did. Oh dear. Okay, so I'm going to apply some double-sided tape to my frame. Let's get my fresh roll. So I've changed double-sided tape rolls for this bit, just so that I know exactly where my tape is. It's going to be really tight to keep it on this border here. Now if you have a thinner roll of double-sided, you could use that instead. Just going to grab my scissors. So the sun is already streaming in here, so if you're in the UK, no doubt it's sunny where you are.
Wasn't it forecasting thunderstorms somewhere yesterday?
Yeah, we're due to have thunder sort of Kent way, I think, yesterday. Definitely had the bad head for it. So, I didn't quite manage a full day yesterday, did I?
Carol says it's a little cool in Doncaster at the moment.
It was cooler overnight, which was something. But, still didn't sleep well for some reason.
You tell me cold, isn't it?
Yeah, I was awake every time you woke up in the night.
Nice, Ashley. Did you sleep alright last night? In the end?
Well, the bit I did, yeah. However, I saw midnight. I saw 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock.
You can see midnight. You were sleeping at midnight.
No, I was definitely awake for 0026, I think it was, the iPad as it was. When I woke up. So, there's a couple of ways we can do this. So I'm going to show you a few different ways. We can do the corner method, which I tend to do more so with solid shapes rather than a frame, which is where we peel back opposite corners, like so. You can do the PVA method, so you do your little dots PVA over the top, or you can use your palette paper method. So I'm going to see if we can, I'm going going to do that as the front. Kind of do a bit of both. Just because I want to be able to check that I'm going to get this in the right place.
Okay, this is a little cool in Australia too. But no wind today, so that's good. Your mum says morning, Mum.
Morning, Mum. So I'm just carefully lining up top and bottom and left hand edge. I'm going to gently just rub down that corner. I'm going to hold that top corner, and I just want to carefully peel this off and just double check that placement. So, carefully does it. And it will come off, so don't panic. Just being slightly cut-handed today. There we go. Press that down. Now we're going to pull our tab and pull this tab and walk that corner down, pull this tab and this tab, and again, there we go.
Can't quite see the bottom tab.
There we go.
Carol said that's a good method. I always struggle to get my frame straight.
Okay. So now for the next bit, and this is what I wanted to talk to you about. It's very tempting at this stage to go, right, okay, I need to stick that on that and then go again. But if you want to do something like brads or eyelets, then what you can actually do is mount your two sort of central panels first, and then use that to actually hide the workings for your brad or your eyelet. So that's one of the things that you can bear in mind when you're putting your card together. So, given that this is paper, I'm going to change adhesive to my Tombow Mono liquid glue, and it's just a little bit more forgiving, because if you use your 3D PVA sometimes you can get a bit of a bump. If you use double-sided it's a bit harder to do because that paper is thinner than the tape itself. So the Tombow Mono is a good way to kind of get around that. It's also good glue to use if you are applying paper to MDF. So I've been doing that quite a bit. Okay. Let's pop that.
There's also still giving that wiggle room then as well.
Yeah, you do still get a little bit of wiggle room. So I'm going to line that up. Tap it down gently. Then hopefully with a cling bow, I'm just going to go over the top. That's going to help it flatten out so you don't get any wrinkles, and as it dries it will just go perfectly flat and lovely. So now I'm going to grab my 3D foam. And because we have lots of thin bits in our word, rather than trying to 3D up our aunt, I'm going to 3D up my panel and then just adhere my aunt to it. Which sounds a bit cruel, to be honest.
Sarah Lou says good morning.
Morning, Sarah Lou. Okay, so I'm going to pop my tab there. Now I do tend to use foam tape on a reel rather than pre-cut dots. I just find it's easier for swapping between projects on the fly that way.
Carol says she has the green one and not the aqua one.
Yeah, the green one is an opaque white one, and it does have its uses. You can use it, I believe, for sticking on mats even. I don't have that one, so I've not tested that theory, but I've seen it recommended on a few of the groups.
Teresa says she has the green one too.
But that's why I like the aqua one, is that it's going to make it basically so your paper ends up like a skin on top of your card rather than something that's, you know, over it, if that makes sense. Let's get the backing off here. And again, if you wanted to put any sort of brads or eyelets in this panel, do that before applying your tape, and it's going to hide your workings for you. Just when you're applying brads, just go careful to not go too close to the corners because the arms will splay out. I did used to trim mine as well, if they did do that with a pair of wire cutters. Okay, so just going to decide which way up I'm going.
So Lewis said we didn't get the storms we had yesterday, must have been over. No storms up here, was there?
I just had the head, didn't I?
Yeah, you had a bad head, but we didn't actually have any storms yesterday.
No, I have to say I'm not looking forward to the weekend because the weekend is supposed to be quite stormy, and yeah, my head doesn't really like the stormy weather, does it? So
You don't like it, full stop, do you?
no, I don't like it, but my head definitely don't like it. Right, so I'm going to use my 3D PVA for this one, just so that I can do some nice little dots. In actual fact, I'm not even sure if I need that one on the end, but we can always take that off in a minute. Okay, let's have a look. So I think I'm going to go there. So see what I mean? It doesn't quite need that one on the end. So I'm just going to very carefully, and it does dry clear as well, the 3D PVA. So let's just take that little dot off there, and I'm going to put a tiny fraction just on this edge here, just so that it has something to stick to. Just press and hold that for a moment. There we go. And pin. I've lost my pin already. There. It's going to be a good day today. Okay. So now to apply our panel to our frame. So if you have put brads or eyelets in, you may want to put some foam tape on the back just to lift it off that little bit, especially with eyelets, because you can get a bit of a raised metal back to your panel. If you want to put 3D foam anyway, because you want that kind of drop shadow, then you can do that too. If you want something that's going to be going in the post, however, one of the things you can use is some foam board, and that's going to give you a much more even amount of raised all over the surface, so that you can actually cover pretty much that entire square, but you want to leave a little bit of a border just inside so that you get a nice neat finish. And it tends to be better with the shallower foam board rather than the thicker one. So if you've been doing the shadow boxes, you tend to be using the thicker one, so just get some thin one into your stash as well. just for speed today, I'm going to go with a little bit more of the aqua. Then we can get on to some colouring. So what type of colouring would you like me to do today? We could be doing some watercolour, we could be doing coloured pencil. So now that I've got that adhered into the centre, I'm just going to quickly go around the edge with a 3D PVA just to seal that down so it's nice and neat.
So there's a beautiful background here.
It is, isn't it? It's a pad from the works, so it really wasn't expensive. I think it's £1. Yep, £1.
Carol says watercolour.
Okay. We can do some watercolour for the mermaids, can't we? There we go. So if you're struggling with the heat today and don't want to do a lot, then what I would suggest is having to go with some moulds and filling those. It doesn't take a lot of sort of effort or creative thought, so it can be quite relaxing. And of course you have the heat to help dry a lot quicker than what it would usually set. And there we go, we have our little art card. Okay, so let's take our little bits of backing paper out of the way. And we're going to bring in some Strathmore mixed media. So usually when I'm doing watercolour, you'll see I'll reach out for my Paper Mill Direct All Media paper, but it's quite textured. So I wanted something that I was going to be able to use with my rubber stamps that are a bit more detailed, and I didn't want to lose that detail when stamping. So this is a nice smooth cardstock, but it doesn't mind if you get watercolour on it. So first things first.
Morning, Linda.
Morning, Linda. So I'm going to grab my piece of card, pop it in there, put my magnets on, and let's get my mermaid. So I'm probably not going to use all of this image, so I don't mind if it goes off the bottom a little bit. So I'm going to pop that into my stamp platform. This one's kind of my quick go-to one because I don't have to change it between rubber and cling, it just automatically adjusts, which is always cool. I'm going to be going to my squid ink, and at some point next week I'll try and use my other inks that I've got and show you the difference between them. So I have a waterproof one that I just use for watercolour, and I have an alcohol proof one just for marker colouring. So do you fancy a week of colouring next week? And I'll do some little bits with the scan and cut, such as direct cutting after colouring and things like that.
Carol says that's a dinky stamp pad.
I do like the squid ink, but it's
This means the platform.
the black one.
Platform.
Oh, the platform. Yes, the platform is very, very dinky. It's getting used a lot at the moment, I have to say, because it's just quicker.
Which one is it?
It is, I think it's the Studio Light one. I'm sure Mum will say, give it me. So I'm just giving this good press all over, especially being a larger stamp. It's one of those ones where time is good, because you're letting that ink go into that card. And fingers crossed, we have a perfect impression. So there's our mermaid. Now, so the stamp is Chocolate Brook, and the set is Mermaid Queen. So I'm just going to clean that up with just a little bit of water. And I usually use an old flannel for the Chocolate Brook stamps, because they can take a bit more abrasiveness than the clear stamps. But just for now, I'll just give this a quick clean with bamboo. Because you don't want to see my multicoloured flannel. Put it this way, it once was white, I don't think it will ever be white again.
Sarah knew ordered the slice from the Amazon affiliate store.
Yeah.
And had to give proof of age before he was allowed it. But I did say, you seriously think I'm underrated? Yeah, what did we have that for when we ordered?
It was when we went to
Yeah, we had something here, didn't we?
Did we?
Yeah, I've had the delivery here and they asked for proof of ID.
That might have been the slice then, because we've had a slice since we came here.
Yeah.
Because we ordered mine and Mum's, didn't we?
Yeah. And Darcy says lovely mermaid. It is very lovely.
It is, and in the same set you've got a seahorse, you've got a mermaid silhouette, so if you want to put one in the background, then you've got 2 seagrasses, and then you've got 3 shells. So it's a nice little set to play with. Okay, watercolour. Pick me a palette. They're down by you.
It's on the top.
So we're going to go for my nice labelled one.
Yeah.
Okay.
Girls, I ordered the slice also, but got away with not having to prove my age.
Yeah, we were very flattered, weren't we, when we went to a concert, didn't we? It wasn't when we went to JMJ, was it? Because that we took Dad. Was it Michael? Can't even say it, let alone.
Yeah, it's Nick Mac.
Okay, so.
Pick up the NEC, or the NIA as it is now. No, NEC.
No, it's the NIA, because it was the pub that, well, not pub, pub restaurant that was opposite it, wasn't it, on the other side of the canal?
Yeah, it's not the NIA anymore, is it? What is it now?
The Barclaycard Arena, is it? Or no, that's the NEC, isn't it? Oh, I do wish they'd stop changing the names.
How did the delivery man know that there was a knife in the package? They don't know it's a knife, they just know they have to ask for age. It says on their little device that scans it.
Okay.
The proof of age is required.
So, I'm working with Inktense paint pan set number 1. And I'm going to start off with doing the kind of skin tone. So, I'm going to pull out some of the orange, but not too much. Because let's face it, if her skin was that colour, you'd be kind of concerned. She'd definitely been tangoed. I'm going to get some yellow ochre, because we want to knock that back a little bit. And I'm going to get a tiny bit of red. So what you want at this stage is you want it to be darker than what you actually want it to come out as. Then we can add some water. Mix that in. So that we start to have a bit more of a wash. So can you see it on screen okay?
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm just using a number 8 paintbrush. Yeah, that's okay, and you go when you need to. So Ian's got to go and do something in a minute. So while he's gone, I will try and keep an eye on comments, but they are behind me.
So you said you've been out of the water far too long if the colour was like that.
Okay. So I'm keeping a kind of white line to the top of her arm, so she looks like she's lit from above, which should be. Just going to add a little bit more water to the brush. Just so her face is a little paler, and that's going to help it come forward. I'm going to go back into that dark colour. And put that just under there. Just down there. I'm going to go down this lower edge of her arm. And down the base of her hand. Like so. So as you start to pull the colour out, you're going to see it's a lot paler than you think it is. Okay. Now one of the things you'll find today is that your watercolour is going to dry very, very quickly. So try not to panic, but also go with the flow. So if you do end up getting cauliflowers, just go, oh well, it's one of those things. Work with it. So now let's move on to her tail. And I'm going to go to the blue-green section of the palette. So bear in mind our original card, if I just give it a quick flash on the screen. I'm going to have to rescue the bubbles out of it. It's kind of that purpley tone. So you've got two options. You can either go with that or you can go against it to make it pop. So I think I'm going to start off with something that is quite blue, almost with a hint of teal. And then as we come down, we're going to go through the blues and down to the purples towards the bottom. So I'll start off with the bright blue. And a little bit of the teal green. So for this first bit, don't mind it having a bit of that greener tinge rather than blue. Okay, so I'm going to pick up a bit of the blue without cleaning my brush, so that's going to help them start to blend. A bit more blue. And then I'm going to go to the dark plum. I'm just going to do a little tap in the dark plum because it is, like it says, quite dark. And we can go down to there. Now we have her tail, and if you want to, you can change the colour totally. So if you want to go pink to purple, that's fine. If you want to go back to that kind of bluey green, you've still got that colour mix there if you want to. I think I'm going to give my brush a quick wash. just going to blot it on a bamboo towel just to get most of that pigment out. And I'm going to start at the bottom, same on the other side. Now obviously, when you're doing things like this, it'd be better if the level wasn't quite so warm, so that it's not moved that colour a little bit. Okay, I'm going to go back into the blue. So then into the purple. Again, I can go a bit stronger this time. And finally, I'm just going to do a little bit mixing, so purple and a bit of the red. If you've got palette number 2, you've got a little bit of a cerise pink in there that you could use instead. But I just want a little hint of warmth just in this top section. I'm just using the very tip of my brush, holding it like a pencil, and I'm just going to draw a little bit of a texture into this top section, following the detail of the stamp. There we go. And there's the tail. Okay, hopefully it hasn't ended, it's just Facebook having an issue. Let's refresh. There we go. Good old Facebook, it's having a good day today. So, given that we've used that kind of purpley colour down here, you want to bring it in somewhere else so that we can make that design make sense. So I'm going to take it up here, through her top, like so, as the base colour. Then I'm going to go into the mid ultramarine, which is the dark blue, and I'm just going to pop a little section of that through there. Once this is dry, you can embellish it with gel pens as well, so if you want to add some sparkly bits. Now here, I'm going to go back to my greeny colour, because let's face it, mermaids don't have to have normal hair colour. And I'm just going to take that through. I'm just going to miss out the little bubbles for now, as much as possible. Now it's time to be using that tip of the brush. Just follow this strand of hair. Like so, a little bit just on the end of that curl there. So if you miss a few little bits, that's okay. You can call it a highlight. And again, let's load up a bit more paint on the brush. Gonna follow it down the side of her neck before using that point to trace the line of her hair. So when you're washing and drying your brushes, you should be shaping your bristles so it still comes back to that nice point. I do tend to keep this set just for doing watercolour and Inktense, so they won't be doing things like working with the gouache base palettes or any kind of mixed media. I have another set for that. Okay, there we go. So I'm going to let that dry there for a moment. So now I can pick up a little bit of that dark blue, come back to this side. I can start to put in some little bits of shading, like so. I'm going to do the same down here, just so that we're deepening the colours, and it's going to make a look of that a little bit more 3D. Can you all still see me okay? Okay, so now that we've done our hair, her skin tone should be dry now, so we can start to add some detail. So I've jumped down to a number 2 brush, and that means that we can get a little bit more detailed. I'm going to pick up a little bit of red, like so. And a bit of our bluey greeny colour, and I'm just going to go over her eyes like so. Now for the eyes themselves, it is quite small and detailed, so you're probably, instead of trying to want to do that with watercolour, you're probably going to want to get either a fine tip pen or a coloured pencil. So now with the finer brush, we can go back into our tail, and we're just going to pick out a few little bits and pieces to add some shading to. So this is a quick way of making it look like all your scales are coloured, but in actual fact they're not. It's just the trick of the eye. I'm just going to put a bit more up here, and then where you've got the shadow, just deepen that colour so it starts to look a bit more of a 3D form. Now being a littler brush, you're going to find it doesn't hold as much water or paint, so don't forget to keep dipping it in just to get a little bit more onto your brush. And don't be afraid to take your purpley colour up into your green section, and likewise the green section into your purple. And I quite like that. So your next decision is whether you want to use that mermaid without her background, which is an option, or if you want to use part of that background. So I'm thinking I could take just this centre section here, bearing in mind how we stuck our mermaid vibes in the first place, so we want to have a narrow gap so that we can actually get it through our card. So I think I'm going to come down here and then follow that line there, then down here and follow this line down here. If you then want to add more of your seagrass, you can do that separately so that you can get that through. But I think for this card, I'm just going to stick to just those particular areas. So again, I'm going to go to my yellow ochre. And a little bit in the middle to marine, because I want to make it look dirty. And I'm going to take it round underneath this edge here. And I'm then going to do little vertical lines that are going to mimic the shading in the stamp. So again, round underneath this edge here, and just drag that colour out. I'm going to do the same down the sides. And also anywhere where the stamp indicates there's some shading. Thank you, Linda, and thank you, JC. It's good to know, because when it drops out this end, it's like, is it just Facebook having a moment, or have I genuinely lost everyone? Okay. So we have a little bit of seaweed that actually overlaps that element. So let's go for our teal green, because where possible you want to keep using the same colours. And let's use a little bit of yellow ochre. Yeah. Add a little bit more water to that. And I'm just going to do the ones that are actually overlapping my little toadstool that she's perched on, want a better word. Like that. We've got a little bit here that leads into the side of that mushroom, so I'm going to do it. And that can trim around that. Then underneath, we've got this section here. And down here too. Okay. Now with this bit here, you need to make a decision, because when you do that trimming, it's not going to make sense if those bits are necessarily green. So it's whether you want to include those and then trim it slightly differently, or whether you just want to leave those and it will just look like it's darker areas of shading, which is what I think I'm going to do today. I'm going to grab a little bit more water, tone down our green that we've got here. And again, following the principle of using it in more than one place, I'm just going to pop this on here. Like so. And again on the side. Now I'm going to go to my mid ultramarine. I'm just going to drop that in. Along this bottom edge. Like so. And hopefully it looks a bit more like she's actually sat on it. And I'll drop a bit of shading just there, so it mimics the light coming down and her actually creating this shadow as she's perched. And same under her hand. Now hopefully that's not going to take too long to dry. It's one of those ones where I could do with going, and just in case it has, here's one I made earlier, but I haven't. So while that is waiting, I'm just going to pop that up there for a moment. I'm going to grab my little die cut pieces. So we have our little bubbles, and then I also have hiding our little starfishes and a couple of shells. Now if you wanted to kind of create a more harmonious card, then what I would say is replace the cut seashells with some of the stamped seashells and colour those in the same way. But just for speed today, I'm going to very quickly show you how to colour these little bubbles. So first of all, and I'm going to have to look for these in my little pot in a minute, you need to pop out the little white sections and put those to one side. So you're going to have some bubbles that look like this. Then what you want to do, and there are two ways of doing this. I was going to do it watercolour, but actually I'm going to change my mind, make it a little bit easier, and pull out a couple of ink pads. So let's go for Blueprint Sketch. I think the new colour would probably be a better match, but it's not here yet, so I've got to be patient. And pinky. Let's go for Kitsch Flamingo. So, one of the things you're going to want to do is you're going to want to put all your bubbles so that your highlights are going to be facing roughly where your light source is. So if you're going to put them like so, and your light source is from up here, you're going to find that that highlight is going to move. So it might look something like that. The trick is to try and keep it consistent. So if, for instance, I rotate this one round here, the eye can instantly go, something's not right there. So try and think where your light source is, and where we've done our colouring, we've gone for that top-down light approach. So we're going to get like that. In terms of your bubble placement, you want your bigger bubbles towards the bottom and going up to the little ones as it goes up towards the top. That's going to help give perspective to your card. Next challenge. I'm going to get a little bit of my pink, and I'm going to go for the sort of top left corner, like so. Swap your tool and your ink, and you're going to go directly opposite where your pink is, and you're going to do your blue. Now, depending on your card, you'll find that some will blend better than others. So this has got kind of a little bit of a shimmer to it. There's one. Now with this one, you're going to still do your blue to that edge. It's just that highlight that's going to move. And for the most part, you can probably continue to use what's on your brush, because we're not using huge amounts of ink. Okay. So again, let's go pink that side and blue the other. And there's pink and blue. Like so. Then our mermaid is going to sit in there. And what I will do very quickly, although I'll take more time to cut out her hair after, so I won't necessarily stick it, is I'm just going to quickly cut round her so that you can see how that's going to look with it all in place. And just because I'm aware of time, I will pop it up later onto Facebook and probably Insta too, to be honest. So again, it is quite warm here today, so I will be kind of flitting in and out of Facebook in between doing samples. If you have any questions, don't be afraid to ask. Even if I can't answer straight away, I will get back to you as soon as I'm able. So I'm just going to roughly follow that around there. And I'll roughly chop round her hair, because that's the fiddly bit. Now if you want to cut this out using direct cut on your scan and cut, just do a white gel pen line around the outside of the area you want to keep, so the machine can see where it's aiming. Okay, so let's go a little bit closer in here. Round we go. I'm okay, nearly done. And let's do a little trim around this bottom edge. So I'm not going to keep all this little bits down here. So you can just cut it off like so. So now you're going to have to use your imagination a little. I'm going to lift that up and very carefully. I may have to do a little bit more trimming of her tail. Actually, saying that, this is going to look awful in terms of what I'm doing to the poor girl. But if you find that you're struggling to get it to fit, chop the tail off. And I can pop her in there. And I can hide the join like so if I'm lucky. Make it. There we go. So she's going to gain a little bit of height. Let's try and do it so that the tail makes sense.
Counts as a doctor in the house.
So then we have our little bubbles. And then we also did our little glue dot bubbles as well. So we still have those that we can use. Just going to move my brush out of the way. Like so. So if you want to stick those on, you can do too. And they will look more like little transparent bubbles of water. So the choice is yours, whether you want to go for the ones that are in the original Mermaid Vibes design, or if you want to go for the glue dot ones. any questions before I go? Oh dear.
How does she likes it?
I might even trim her tail a little bit more, so see if I can get that up a little bit better. So let's see what I can do. Let's see if we can get that up under there a little bit.
Another lens that's beautiful.
There we go. If I put her there, let's put her slightly off centre. And we can go pop that there. That gives us room for our shells and things then too. So I am back at the same time tomorrow with making inserts for your cards. So if you've done a really posh card, or if it's a card that's on a black or dark card base, then you will want to learn how to do a insert. So I'm going to show you a couple of methods. So I'm going to show you a one-page insert where we just literally stick it into the back inside of your card, and also a two-page where we're actually sticking it into the front inside of your card. So take care for now, and if you need me, I will be about, but it might just be a bit slower for me to reply. Take care, and bye.